Welcome to another Facebook Live with Mercedes-AMG Petronas Motorsports, and we welcome Toto Wolff back to the Digital Garage. Hello Toto, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we were in here earlier for the 360 unveil of the car. That was a pretty impressive moment, I thought.
It was, because showing the car with a 360 camera to everybody from Silverstone is amazing.
It was a pretty amazing moment, and I can hear the car going around now. That is Valtteri out on track. A huge day for him as well.
Yeah, of course, putting your foot in a silver era for the first time, racing car that, you know, there's so much history around Mercedes in Formula One, feels good, or at least that's what he says to me.
Good news, that's what we want to hear from Valtteri. So we're live on Facebook, YouTube, the team's website as well. Do comment below, send in your questions, and I will put them to Toto. We have about 10 or 15 minutes. But first of all, a launch day. It's important to unveil the car to the media, to the fans, but it's also important, I understand, for the team, really, as well, from an internal point of view.
Yes, because it is the first time, the first day actually, where all the bits and pieces of the car are being put together and it runs. And it's an amazing birth almost that, 2 days ago it was in many pieces. Then yesterday the engine was being put on the car and it ran, and then suddenly you have the car going around in circles. And every time he passes, it's a good moment because the car doesn't break down, and that is a good indication in terms of reliability.
Exactly, the reliability. We've got a question in from Jay on Facebook Live. He wants to know a little bit more about this EQ Power Plus that we have. Obviously, the name of the car has changed. It's a little bit longer this year. It's F1 W8 EQ Power Plus. He's just a bit interested to find out more about that.
Well, it's an interesting new branding for our plug-in hybrid road cars. And EQ stands for electric intelligence, and obviously we like intelligence.
We do like intelligence, especially in Formula One.
Exactly. We like it in the road cars too, so we like it everywhere. And so it gave us a little bit of a new livery with the blue logo and the blue stripe.
We saw that. We can see it on the logo behind us there with the digital kind of look of the colours with this blue mixing in with the Petronas blue. And it's just added a different flavour to the livery this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's more blue.
More blue. There we go. We've heard it from the man himself. Let's take another question then from one of our lovely fans. Thank you very much for joining us from all around the world. We have got a question here from Warren_S_Nell. How much sleep have you missed out on during the design and development of this new car? Because the winter break, I guess, wasn't very restful for you, Toto.
Well, I haven't lost a lot of sleep because of the development or the build, because that is not an area I was involved in. Certainly, many people in the factory have the most crazy time this last couple of weeks of doing exactly that, putting the car together. And you must really take your head off because it is 7 days a week, and families suffer a lot because they don't get to see their partners. With me, it was easier. I had to deal with the driver situation. That was a different complication, but certainly not as much of a job than the guys involved in developing and building the car.
You talk a bit about the sort of sacrifices that the team make. Michael on Facebook Live has asked how you're feeling about the mental preparation of the team and the drivers, because I assume off the back of 3 consecutive wins, it's quite hard to G up the team to go for that 4th. I know they're all very driven, but it can sometimes work against you when you've had such success on the bounce.
This time around, it doesn't actually. It would probably have been if the rules have stayed the same. Then kind of reinventing yourself and having the right energy can be tricky. But because the regulations have changed, we are so energized and so motivated that we're actually keen in finally getting out there and racing the car. So it was the best thing that could happen to us.
Fantastic. So sort of renewed enthusiasm almost, would say.
We were always enthusiastic, but there's always the risk that you get used to that kind of success, and that the risk of setting your expectations too high. And in that case, we are having no expectations because the regulations are new. It starts at 0 for everybody. And that gives us an opportunity to be successful again, maybe in a completely different way. Maybe we're not going to win 50 races in 3 years. Maybe we are going to win a couple of races, hopefully a championship, maybe not. Maybe somebody else has done a better job. But it's just all back to square one.
You talk about the championship wins, and we've had a question in on Facebook Live again from Pete. Thank you very much for that. I'm asking you which one of the championship winning cars is your favourite so far from the last 3?
My favorite car is always the new car, because when I look at it, everything else just looks so old. So at the moment, having seen the unveil of the car today and the detail and the sophistication of the bodywork, I'm just a super fan of the 2017 Formula 1 car.
Yeah, well, that leads nicely on to Pete's second part of his question. He asks you what the hopes and dreams are for this car. When you look at it, what can you visualise and hope for this year?
You can hope for that we have set the right targets and that we have achieved the targets. You hope that you have the right innovation on the car. And you hope that you have a competitive package, but then you can't be successful only based on hope, but you also need to put everything together, and that is hard work and intelligent work. And there's so many good people in the team that hopefully have done just right that, and so I'm optimistic.
Good. I like to hear optimism from you, Toto. You talk about lots of people in the team. Obviously, two major people that we always see every race weekend. Someone new, obviously, this year. The two teammates. You've got your new driver lineup. And we've got a question in from Leif Mullin. Thank you very much for that question. It is, how confident are you for the season ahead with two new teammates working together?
It's a completely new dynamic. On one side, it lacks the base that Nico and Lewis had because they've known each other for 20 years. But then there is also a lot of luggage. If you have known somebody that long and you have had the rivalry all through the junior categories. So I see it as an opportunity to start square one with a healthy relationship. They respect each other.
Have you seen them sort of interacting? Obviously today is the first day of seeing them both working very much together. What is that relationship like from your perspective at the moment, watching them interact?
The interaction, what I've seen today, was positive, neutral. You know, not a lot of. There's no games, there is no psychological warfare because there is no history. And equally, when we spoke to Lewis and told him that Valtteri would be the driver of our choice, he was very positive about it and said it's a good guy, I like him and I respect him as a racing driver. So that is a solid foundation that the relationship works well, but you have to equally be realistic. If it's getting intense out there, it's about racing each other, winning races, hopefully championships. The rivalry could as well be difficult. But
and you're prepared to obviously step in and manage it as you have done, I suppose, with Nico Nurse in the past. We have a question in from James on Facebook Live. Thank you for getting in touch, James. Just sort of talking about Lewis's comments recently about data sharing, and I know he's sort of clarified what he meant in terms of his thoughts about data sharing sort of historically in the sport. How are you going to make sure he doesn't feel that any data is being shared in a negative way, perhaps, that would be a detriment to his championship win?
It is always amazing how sometimes the media tries to create controversy where there is no controversy.
And cheeky, aren't they?
Cheeky. But, you know, headlines sell. The headline, everything smooth at Mercedes is not going to sell any newspapers or achieve any click rates. War at Mercedes is something which is more successful. That sells. Lewis was asked whether if he could reinvent Formula One, what he would do. And he said, from a driver's standpoint, I'd like to stop data sharing because that would mean every driver needs to rely on his talent. And obviously, I would be super keen in doing this if all the other teams were to do that. Sharing data means that you develop the car jointly. And you make the car quicker over the course of a weekend because you will see that the other driver maybe chooses a different line or brakes 5 meters later or brakes 5 meters earlier but is able to carry more speed through the apex. And all that was an important factor in our success. So if everybody were to be limited to his own data, great for the sport, but then you need to have it throughout Formula One. Every single field, and that's not realistic because that rule doesn't exist. So Lewis said it's absolutely understandable that that's not going to happen, but obviously that bit was not transmitted.
Obviously, censorship. Samantha has been in touch on Facebook Live talking about rivalry this year. I mean, we're not talking about intra, we're now talking about inter-team. Looking down the pit lane, who do you think are going to be your biggest rivals for 2017?
There is the usual suspects that operate with a similar professionalism and resource, Red Bull and Ferrari clearly. they have been rivals in the last years. But with such a regulation change, you need to respect and consider everyone as a potential competitor. And we've seen that in 2009. Nobody would have expected Braun to be competitive and win the championship. And here we go, it happened. So we are taking everybody serious. It is the year of opportunity. It is the year of technical innovation. And it could well be that a team that hasn't been on our radar before might win.
Well, you say that. I have to say that, Renault have come out and said that they found 35 horsepower and that they think they're going to find some time on the track this year. Do you think you can counter this and make sure that doesn't turn into an advantage? Or you think you'll still have the upper hand?
I don't think we can counter that. That is an impressive number. And Renault, again, is a very professional organization. And I have no doubt that their learning curve is going to be steep. And we take them very serious as a competitor. We don't know with how much we're going to come out. We try to obviously extract the maximum performance with the best possible reliability and hopefully have the best car, driver and engine package, but it's not a given.
Another question has come in from Abdul Latif, noticing that there weren't any new sponsors this year and just wondering, apart from Valtteri's personal sponsors, was that a conscious decision? You're happy with the sort of fraternity of sponsors that you have with the team at the moment?
Absolutely happy. We have been able to attract some of the very big and successful brands in the past, and we don't want to dilute the messaging around them. So a sponsor needs to fit to the team. And I'm super happy with the lineup of sponsors. They have become great partners throughout the years, and we are doing much more than just putting a sticker on the car, but it is really activating each other's business, and that functions well.
Fantastic. Good to know that you're happy with your set. Very nice. But welcoming Wahuri, obviously, into the brotherhood and the family. Morton has been in touch on Facebook Live. Thank you for your question. Obviously, we had the car in here earlier. It's a huge process getting the car ready for launch day. We've seen all the little parts around the factory finally coming together, as Lewis said earlier on. But what has been the biggest challenge, do you think, to make sure this car was ready this morning?
Building a car for launch day is always tricky because, of course, you try to develop it as long as possible, and that means putting it together at the latest possible moment. And I've seen the huge effort that's been done in the factory yesterday and the day before in order to put it together. And then finally, as I said before, seeing it driving out there is great.
It certainly is great. And of course, next week we will be in Barcelona. First test, and obviously then a second test, and then Melbourne. Have you set a target? So for the test, a certain number of laps, for example, or to find a balance between the drivers or the car setup or something like that?
Yeah, we have set ourselves a lot of targets, and you need to be realistic. Barcelona 1 is mainly about collecting data and trying to understand the tires, making sure the car is reliable and the engine is reliable. Valtteri needs to settle in the team and drive the car properly in angry mode rather than just checking it down like here. And the second test will be more about performance. And obviously Melbourne is a different ball game again. This is the first time when we get serious.
We do get serious. Angry mode, I like that, putting the fin into angry mode. Sean Lavery has been in touch on Facebook Live, asking a bit of a cheeky question, actually, Sean. He wants to know where he can buy a car like this. But, I mean, they're not for sale, are they, Toto?
No, unfortunately, Sean, these cars are not for sale. We keep them in our museum.
What about if he wants to get his hand on something like the EQ element of that with the Mercedes-Benz? That's possible to buy, surely.
Absolutely. Go to the Mercedes dealership, buy a plug-in hybrid. It's going to have the blue EQ on the car. So it's almost like owning a Formula 1 car.
Ah, there you go. Almost, but not quite. So finally, a sort of last sum-up question. Hopes and dreams for the season. I mean, you've had the most incredible run of success. Is it just about winning the championship again, or are there more finer details throughout the season you're looking for?
No, I'm really, our mindset is that you can't take it for granted and you need to keep with your feet on the ground. All points back to zero, new regulation, equal opportunity, equal risk for everybody. And that means that if our organization continues to run in the same way it did and we will be able to deliver a car that will be successful. Will it win as many races or will it win championships? We don't know because we haven't seen the competition, but certainly we're very eager. We are in angry mode in order to be successful, but it's going to be different than last time around.
Well, it's going to be different. It's going to be exciting. Toto, thank you very much for joining us on the Facebook Live here in the Digital Garage. We'll be back with Lewis Hamilton at 3:45, so I hope you can stick around and join us then. But Toto, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to a very busy launch day.
Thank you very much.